Hello, my name is Matthew Penning, and I'm here with another lecture snippet. In this video, I want to cover some of the basic configurations of the Server 2012 operating system. And so what I have here is a brand new installation of Server 2012, and once I've logged in, I've been prompted with the Server Manager to configure the operating system. If you do not see the Server Manager, you can always click here on your taskbar in order to bring up the Server Manager. Now, I'm going to go ahead and click this number 1 here. It says configure this local server. And I'll go ahead and click on that link. And then what we're going to do is some of the basic tasks of setting up our operating system, like giving our computer a name to begin with. So I'll go ahead and just under computer name, click on the name here. And I do plan on using this as a domain controller in the near future here. So I'm going to go ahead and change the name to something that reflects that. So I'm going to click on the change button. And then right here is the old name that was assigned to me by default by Windows, and I'll just go ahead and type in DC1 for my first domain controller. I'm not going to change the domain here. However, if I was planning on joining a domain that already existed, I could go ahead and do that with the domain. I'm going to leave this as work group, so I'll just go ahead and hit OK. And it's going to tell me in a moment here that I need to restart in order for my changes to apply. I'm just going to go ahead here and hit OK. And then when I go to close here, I'm going to say restart later, because I have a couple other things that I want to change. Now I'm not going to see that change take effect. Let me just refresh this and double check that. You probably won't see that change take effect until it actually restarts there for the computer name. But I'm going to come down here and look at some of the things that I have here. By default, the Windows Firewall is turned on, and you can see here that remote desktop is disabled. Since I mostly work with my servers remotely by logging in using the remote desktop from another computer rather than sitting here in front of my server, this is something I want to turn on. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the disabled button or the disabled link there, and I'm going to go ahead and come here and say allow remote computers to this computer. So I'll go ahead and click on that, and I'll go ahead and hit OK, and I'll hit OK again. And if I refresh this another time, you should see the disabled become enabled here. There it is. So I have that enabled. Now this NIC teaming is somewhat of a new thing here on our Server Manager to be able to set up for our network cards. I'll be doing this in another video where we actually can have redundant network cards for our server in the event that one of them fails, and so we'll set that up later on. Now here's my Ethernet settings. I can see that my IP version 4 has been assigned by a DHCP server, and if you're setting this up and you have a router on your network, and this is a brand new network you're setting up, more than likely it's probably going to have DHCP turned on, which is the case that I have here for this one. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to change my IP version 4 to a static IP address here on my network. So I'll be doing that. I also want to disable, in my case, version 6 because I will not be using it. So I'm going to go ahead and disable that. And I'll show you how to do both of those. Go ahead and click on the link, and it's going to open up our network connections here. I only have one network card installed on this server at the moment, so it's going to be called Ethernet. I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to go down to Properties, and I can see here is my version 6. I'll go ahead and click on that, and then we'll uncheck it so that it's been disabled, and then I'm going to go ahead and highlight version 4 and go to Properties. Now, this will give me the option here to set my static IP address, and I want to check to see what the router has already given me. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up the command prompt by typing in CMD and hit enter, and then I'll type in ipconfig space / and all, and I'll go ahead and hit enter there. Let me expand this so that I can see a little bit more, and I'm going to scroll up and find the Ethernet adapter. Right there it is, Ethernet adapter Ethernet, and I can see some different information about it. My version 4 address currently is 10.0.2.15 with a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. I'm going to go ahead and just reuse this information here on my network. So I'm going to go ahead and set my static IP address to be what the router has given me, and then use the same subnet mask so we're all on the same network. If I come down a little further, I'm going to need to know the gateway, which is 10.0.2.2, and then the DHCP server gave me the address happens to be the same IP address as the router itself. And then I have one other thing that I need to know, and that's the DNS server, which is at 2.3. Okay, let's go back over here to my version 4 settings. Use the following address. So I'm going to go ahead and type in that 10.0.2.15. That's what I want to use for my static IP address. The subnet mask automatically is going to assume this is a class A address because it starts with a 10, but I'm going to need to change that to .255.255.255.0, and then that default gateway that I was looking at was 10.0.2.2 in my case. Your network's probably going to be something completely different. I have to also put in the DNS address here, so I'll go ahead and do that as 10.0.2.3 is what my network was currently set up as. So I'll go ahead and hit OK, and I'll go ahead and hit close, and then I'll go ahead and close the network connections. Now I'm going to go ahead and come back to my command prompt here. I'll go ahead and hit enter. I need to do a test here to make sure this is going to work. So I'm going to just go ahead and ping some other place like google.com, and I can see that I can connect to Google, so I know my network is still running. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and exit out of here, and if I refresh this, I should see that my version 4, there it is. Now it just says 10.0.2.15, so that's the IP address of my computer now at the moment. If I come over here to the right hand column, I can see that the updates have not been installed. It's not configured at the moment, so I would have to turn on the updates. And since I'm using this for just testing purposes, I'm going to leave the updates off. But you can go ahead and click on not configured here for the Windows update, and then can configure it for whenever you want it to be checked. Alright, so if I go a little bit further down here, I can see that this Internet Explorer Enhanced Security configuration is turned on by default. If you want to use your browser to be able to get some software to download, you're going to want to turn it off to start and then turn it back on. And I typically don't use Internet Explorer for most of my work. However, it's the only web browser on the server by default. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off for the administrator. And I'm going to come back to this and turn it on once I'm done grabbing some software. Let's go ahead and open up Internet Explorer. And I'm just going to show you guys, I'll go ahead and download Firefox in this case and have a secondary browser so that if I need to work with something on the internet, I don't have to go through the hassle with Internet Explorer. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll say use the recommended settings. Okay. Don't show this. Okay, let's go to firefox.com. Firefox.com. And we're going to go ahead and download the browser. Free download. I'll go ahead and click on that. And it says, do you want to run or save Firefox? I'm going to go ahead and say save it. And the Firefox has now been downloaded. I'm going to come back to that in just a moment because I want to show you what it would look like with the enhanced security configuration turned on. So let's go ahead and turn that back on and hit OK. And let's go back to Internet Explorer. And let's go back to Firefox.com, and you can see here that I've already received a security alert. I'll go ahead and hit OK. And then I see that I've got more issues here. Content from the website listed below is being blocked. Alright, so I'll have to go ahead and either trusted sites, or I can choose to hit close. I'll go ahead and hit close. And you can see the website looks a little bit different. I have to choose Windows now in this case. And I'll have to go through and add each one of these download locations throughout Mozilla. So I bypassed all of that by turning it off temporarily. I'm going to go ahead and close Internet Explorer, and that'll probably be the last time I use Internet Explorer here on the server. So if I refresh this, you should now see that the IE Enhanced Security configuration is turned back on, which it is right there. Okay, I can also go change my time zone. So I currently live in Eastern. There we go. And I'll go ahead and hit OK. And then if I need to activate the operating system using a key, then I'm going to go ahead and do that right now here where it says product ID not activated, and I can go ahead and type in the key that I have to activate my software. I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel on this. Okay, so that takes up Okay, so that covers the initial configuration of the Server 2012 operating system. In the next few videos, I'm going to be setting up a domain server here with this operating system and showing you guys how to, and adding additional roles to the server operating system. To find out more about Server 2012,